The fifth session will be led by Professor Saranjit Singh, Vice Chancellor of KiiT University, India. Prof. Sanjit completed his PhD in Production Engineering from BIT Masra Rachi. He has a Master's in Technology in Production Engineering. He has published and presented more than 100 research articles in international and national journals, conferences, and seminars. He has published 3 books in the area of material processing technology, a fellow of Institute of Engineers, India, a former Dean of Mechanical Engineering at KIIT. Currently, he's also professor at the School of Mechanical Engineering at KiiT University. Vice Chancellor Prof. Sanjit Singh will be presenting this session in collaboration with Prof. Prachad Vayan, Dean of Training and Development, Prof. Abbasid Ray, Dean of Industry Engagement, Prof. Paradashi Biswal, Dean of Career Advisory and Augmentation School of KiiT University. His topic will be on augmenting student employability by bridging industry, academia gaps, a case study. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Alan. Thank you, Mr. Som, Mr. Gopal, the organizing committee for inviting KIT to deliver our peace of mind here on this international forum, the International Conference on Talent Ecosystem. I, along with my 3 senior faculty members, 3 deans, are here today to take you to the journey, what we have done, especially at KIT in the next 15 minutes of time. I acknowledge all the esteemed speakers today in this particular session. The talks have really very informative. At the same time, Professor Abraham's video was really good. And some of the points which he highlighted was really very encouraging. I will take some cues because the 4 speakers who will be coming on board right now for next 15 minutes, my job was to set the context, and probably what more when we heard Professor Chris Abraham, who has already, his presentation is like a context to what we are going to see in next 10-15 minutes. So I'll keep it, my presentation in the area of employability skills, and that too very specifically for a technical university like ours. And this presentation is more on what we have done, basis our experience, and how we have evolved and tackled the entire situation. Next slide, Abhishek. So, as you can see, when we talk about higher technical education or higher education as such, so there is always a kind of $1 million debate, which always we faculty members are pulled into and dragged into. And keeping in mind the advent of online education systems and edutech companies, probably the classical discussion is offline versus online, taught versus learned, classroom versus workplace, work integrated learnings, structured versus unstructured learning, certificate versus non-certificated. We talked about nano degrees as well, and standardized versus non-standardized way of learning. So there is always a debate. So we are already in a position where we have been talking about this, and this has been augmented by the present situation. And Abhishek, so the present situation, as you can see, last couple of years, we actually went through very unprecedented times where probably, including school children, I was just looking into one of the articles. It talks about more than 2 billion students were locked and the schools and institutions were closed. So just imagine the situation. Though everything was on online, but there is always a classical discussion between analog versus digital experience. And Professor Abraham talked about VUCA 1.0, and at the same time, he also said VUCA 2.0 as well. But I'll point that these disruptions were really very different experience for all of us. Now, moving forward, this entire complexity is also been augmented by the gradual evolution, how the learning has been happening. Now there definitely is a bit of technology into it, but as what we say, education 1.0 to education 4.0, today we are talking about innovation producing modern learning methodology. Now there are some 9 or 10 drivers for it, which I have mentioned here, that it is because of the technology. Now you can have anywhere, anytime, personal, and different kinds of pedagogy which comes into picture as far as the learning is concerned. Now, this is also been augmented by the paces of the change which is happening on the industry front. And as you can see, we have also been talking about Industry 4.0. So I'm just like to bring here that the disruptions which has been caused with respect to the industrial revolution which has been happening. So certain areas which has now been very relevant in last 3-4 years, or maybe the businesses will lie there in the next 5 years, 10 years down the line, are I have mentioned here, like social mobility, cloud, analytics, smart grid, cognitive systems, smart homes, drones, AR, VR, automation, hyperloop, and blockchain, so on, so on. I think these are also some of the drivers probably where we have to look into industry, institute, skill gaps from this angle. Moving to the next slide, the times which we are living, we can say that it's a very challenging times. And as you can see here, I've already mentioned that basically it is digital versus analog experience. We have more now reliance on IT tools, IT platforms, and to some extent in some of those orthodox universities, there have been ignorance also of IT tools and platforms. So again, the mindset, the abhorrence to the transition from old pedagogical practices. These are some of the challenges, and these challenges need to be kept in mind, and the industry institute gaps probably has to be perceived in a fashion so that probably we can come up with a proper solutioning for our students. And as you can see in this slide, we tried to highlight that we need to understand what Industry 4.0 is, what are its requirements, and we need to understand how the voice of the industry has to be brought in within the university. So Education 4.0, when we talk about how both I 4.0 and E 4.0 can be synergized together, and we can harness the potential of this two of the changes which are happening in the market. Now, we have been talking about Web 3.0 now. Well, Web 3.0 gives a lot of autonomy to the users. So there are a lot of, you can say, traction happening as far as the innovations are concerned on the startups in the areas of fintech, basically with the help of Web 3.0, where you have a complete autonomy on the data which you actually play. Now, what happened in last 10-15 years, we have seen the growth of big time companies like Facebook, or like e-commerce companies like Amazons of the world, and probably they actually been utilizing Web 2.0 technologies and have been playing on the data. So that is also very important. We try to understand that also, and how the man-machine alignments can be made to create new possibilities. We also kept in mind skill, unskill, and reskill, which has been told by Professor Abraham also in one of his slides. And some of the research magazines which we went through, we saw that the gig economy which is coming in, and the gig workforce which is coming into picture, there is a prediction that the next generations will have more than 6 career in their entire lifespan. And these are some of the challenges which actually made us to realize that how we have to reorient ourselves at KiiT as a university, and try to bring in those value to our students. And the two things which we did here, which was very important, one was we said that, okay, to reach out to Allah, because it's a huge, ours is a huge university where we have 35,000 students. So we said that if we have to scale up things, we have to go completely digitalization. So we utilize all the digital tools and platforms available. In-house also, we develop a lot of things. The entire students LCA, the life cycle activities, though a lot of other classroom-based activities and other things are on SAP portal and digitalized. But for the employability point of view, we completely digitalize those activities. And we also brought in, we said that the second point has to be the experiential learning part. So we need to augment our association with industries, and we have to take a left shift where we'll try to bring in all possible industrial experiences within our curriculum, within our system, though digitally, and that can be a game changer. And the reason of doing all this is that Professor Abraham has talked about VUCA, where VUCA world probably, where we are now saying that we have to be ready for anything. One of the esteemed speaker was talking about the new version of the Omicron also coming into picture. So the situation was that at the drop of hat, you never know, we have to close the institution, we have to fully go back to full remote environment and have to come into an analog environment. So that shift is creating a lot of disturbances and a lot of issues for us. So net to net, what we did was we tried to find out the sweet spot between industry and institute overlaps. And we said that, okay, what are the objectives of being an institute? So institutes are majorly involved with teaching, research, and to that extent, social outreach and development programs. Industry are for profits. They look into tangible, intangible products, R&D. They are a part of the economic development happening. But let us find out the areas where probably both of industry and institute can come forward, and probably we can work out some solutioning. So the areas where we found out are like minimizing gaps, augmenting connectivity between industry and institute. Can we think of commercialization, new technology? Can we think of creating an industry-ready workforce? And can we do some joint consultancy and R&D, because university is a huge intellectual capital which has been available. So the overall ecology within the university, along with the industry, how it can be both nurtured and developed. Keeping these things in mind, we had a lot of changes we brought in within our pedagogy, within our approach, especially from the employability side of it. And we did it very nicely since 2020 March, and it has given a lot of good results to our university as such, and even in the ecosystem here in and around where we are actually positioned. So with this, I invite my dean who are actually been involved and engrossed in doing those activities to share those slides, that what we have done on the industry engagement side, on the career advisory side, and how we are helping students. So over to Professor Prachit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my pleasure. Honored to be on this platform. All esteemed present here. I would like to take it forward as per the paucity of the time to present and support and augment what has already been deliberated till now by all the esteemed senior leaders of the education sectors and the academia, and pertaining to the bridge the gaps between industry and academia. So we have a first is the vision, the plan, and to have a team and the roadmap to move ahead. So we had the Industry Engagement Center, which is called popularly, we have got it as IEC, and where the vision and missions were very much clear in the objective to nurture and enduring the sustainable environment to foster and maintain the symbiotic relationships. And the mission was very clear to create and sustain positivity impact the corporate world and the industry 4.0 needs and requirements, and from age to age to shoulder the responsibilities coming up as challenges from industry and to and in employability in picture. So we had developed immediately the co-educate programs like industry electives, minor specializations, talent development programs, graduate engineering training programs, that is TDP and GET popularly known as, and WILP programs where the existing talent has to be again updated, that is work in integrated learning programs. And we have the corporate innovation centers which foster the need of and augment the need of experiential learning, Capstone projects, internships, e-cells, and various international bodies where these platforms are created for the students like AIE, SCC, ISAC popularly known as, and the corporate excellence hubs, which creates the ecosystem of R&D centers where we have joined hands with industry to solve the industry problems involving students and the professors who can actually, along with the field experts, also those who are from industries, and creating through Center of Excellencies and MOUs and industry consultancies, Industry 4.0 academics, alignment, then the various kinds of contemporary events, which creates a platform for leadership's thoughts, their visionary, and the strategies for the next generation's talent nurturing. So we take the input on a varied scales, and we have the kinds of next part. So to go ahead here, another scenario we explored into industry electives. If you can see that there was a question I have seen there, that how this can be done. So we have already executed it. You can see the corporates listed here, like Ericsson, Accenture, High Radius, Global Archer, LLP, ITC, and so on and so forth. With the, you can see UiPath, where the RP and other technologies are there. We have got into this collaborated, where jointly we have rolled out the next generation part. So this scenario. So next part is the minor specializations, which again with the university structure itself. This has also been incorporated. For example, say fintech engineering, which has been with the high radius part, which has become important in these aspects. And next scenario, we also experimented with the TDP programs and the GT programs, where our students have been taken into long-term internships, which is it is not with only 1 month, but beyond 6 months. We have also experimented and aligned their educations along with the different kinds of various corporates. This has been taken care. And then coming to the WILP program here, as which I already given, this is for the existing those who are employed in the organization. They want to upgrade their skills, so that also university can partner and give them varied kinds of programs. So this has been a success, and we have already signed MOUs, and there are other MOUs on anvil to take it forward. So we, with that, I invite also my next colleague, Dr. Abhishek Rai sir, to kindly present.
Thank you, Professor Keith, and thank you, Dr. Saranjit sir. So to take the discussion ahead, what exactly we are augmenting along with the students' employability skills. That's the basic target. What exactly we are learning, and what exactly we are targeting is additionally, along with the corporate engagement, what exactly Dr. Keith has mentioned, we have also added the experiential learning. The experiential learning is specifically we are collaborating with the industry to work along with the real-time projects. And in any mode, this experiential learning can be achieved through various kinds of short-term and long-term internships, on-site projects, or they work on the Capstone projects, maybe in the campus, maybe for starting from the second year onwards of an engineering graduate studies. And we specifically collaborate on those particular lines where the students are targeted to have an industry experience before they join to the industry, and by that they cater to the requirement of the industry. Aside with the academics, because as Professor Prachit has already mentioned, we are involving industry into the academics to improve upon the academic curricula and the students' performance, as well as the experiential learning. In addition, we are also established one of the cells, which we call it as an e-cell entrepreneurship cell, where this is being developed by the students only and being run by the student body in our university, which generates multiple opportunities with the organizations, specifically with respect to the startups, and nurtures the budding entrepreneurs. As well, we have also collaborated with AISCC with an KiiT chapter, and they are also being supported with the international and national internships. In addition to those aspects, KiiT University has taken a step forward to create the corporate excellence centers, right? Where the corporates come across to collaborate with us. They try to build up the centers, a small or might be virtual centers in the university premises itself, where the students can get the benefits working along with the specific corporate partners. So on that particular regard, we also encourage this consulting projects where we are fortunate enough to work along with the Samsung R&D, Z Healthcare, the corporate where the students, the project work and the consulting projects which the students has been done are being awarded and being adopted by the products of those companies. So we are working in multiple folds, and the basic objective is to build up the talent. And to align with the Industry 4.0 requirements, we are trying to collaborate with the corporates where the benefit will be from both the sides, the corporate as well as the university, and the major stakeholder is the students, those who are supposed to get benefited out of the complete process. So to augment all this process, so we are having many other events apart from collaborating along with the projects, internships, and academic collaborations. We have also having some specific events called as an contemporary events where we bring the corporates on a single table depending on the different targets like BFSI models or automobiles or business analytics, construction management, marketing, finance, HR. So we bring to a single table all these vertical people from different corporates. We expose the students to the direct market leaders, and they get an exposure to make their career path in the specific lines. So on this particular note, I just identified few of the targets or few of the elements which we take initiatives which we take care about the students' development. In addition to that, to support to this complete development, the next I would like to invite the next presenter, Dr. Priyadarshi Biswal, who will be talking about the career growth, what exactly it is being built up from the starting from the first year onwards. So over to you, Professor Biswal.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a very a good afternoon, one and all here. I think I'm audible, right? Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would take it up from here. Exactly, my primary notion would be like what this university looks at, especially in terms of employability, is not that exactly in terms of employability. Rather, I should say, we holistically try to empower our students by grooming them to develop their competency, or you can say develop a kind of a mindset in themselves so that they would be able to face up the industry requirements. Or as a whole, exactly, we try to develop the cognitive, real-time cognitive ability of the students. And the journey itself starts from the very beginning itself, right from the day when the students get admitted from the very initial semester. We used to onboard and orient the students in terms of knowing the exact requirements of the industry and the global scenario and their personal fitment as such. And at the same time, from the very beginning itself, we start discussing the industry use cases from the very first year itself, when the students get to know practically what is happening. And basing on that, we prepare a journey for these guys and start onboarding them onto the platform where we capture their individual aspiration and inclination. After capturing their individual aspiration and inclination, we prefer to map up their own aspiration in terms of their individual potential and competency. Are these guys a real fitment to their own aspirations? So we used to figure out the gap between them and especially try to design very specific clinical intervention which would definitely fit into the requirement of the students and his own aspiration. So what exactly we do initially, once we discuss the use cases with the students, we, from the very second year, we start working with them with individual projects where Professor Abhishek and Professor Singh and Professor Bhuya has also told very clearly how industry comes into picture, and we try to share the problems shared by the industry to the entire students community, to the Capstone projects, where students start working, probably for the span of more than 1 year, right from the beginning itself, and finally come out with a kind of a solid innovation, and by the time they become really employable, for which we come out with successful employability, in terms of placements, in terms of academic placements, in terms of job placements, in terms of competency building. And this slide itself could indicate how the journey starts from the very first semester, and from the platform onboarding, and we can straight away go to the last part, because simply we are not restricting to the campus placement. As I made it clear, so we'll be trying to meet the individual aspiration of the students and inclination of the students. We give them a complete 360-degree career path and career avenues, where they literally map themselves up and build themselves up and come out successful, and towards the end of their completion of their courses. This is what exactly is the primary journey as far as the present context is concerned. And you can see, I mean, maybe some people might have been thinking about this basic coding rigor that starts very much from the first year itself. As we have already discussed, apart from cognitive competency, competency in the programming area is equally important, irrespective of batches and branches. This is being taken care of sincerely right from the beginning of any courses, whether it is management, engineering, or even biotechnology as such. So finally, these people come out successful in terms of a proper certification, a proper documented competency building, competency building ability, and really they make themselves very much successful in future. This is what exactly is the complete scenario. Thanks for listening to me in patience. Yeah, sir.
You're on mute.
Oh, sir, mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Pro Vice Chancellor Saranjit Singh, and various professors on the team who have shared us how KiiT University has integrated learning into the industry space, especially with all your relevant placements, argumentation schools, and career advisory and things that's done so well in the university. I'm sure it's an example for many institutions to follow. With that, at this point of time, we have no questions, and we'd like to thank all the speakers, all the 5 speakers and 5 sessions, and all the speakers for participating and giving us a great insight into higher education arena, the employability and the impact of how higher educations can create better talent and better employability for our students in this very trying times and this very interesting time, as shown by some of the speakings from our panel of speakers. And thank you very much at this point. Thank you for all distinguished speakers.